Welcome everybody to another CTC webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis, Technical Evangelist, and today I'm going to take you through user creation and management in HIVE. We're going to talk about some major strategies that you can leverage to make sure that you're successful in setting up your users in the HIVE environment as easily as possible. That's the hope here, at least. So we've talked in previous webinars about some essential administration of HIVE, and that's great, but there will be a little bit of ongoing user management. And we're going to discuss some strategies that you guys as HIVE admins can use to kind of guarantee the best user experience for the end users and the easiest management for yourself of those users. All of this within the HIVE environment or using some of the tools that are good companions to HIVE. The first tool that we're going to talk about here is single user creation. Just how do you build a brand new user in HIVE completely from scratch? Some of the basics behind that. We'll talk a little bit about batch user creation, how you can use a CSV file of usernames to build users. We'll also talk about the Active Directory sync tool. And then as far as user management goes, there's a couple of extra things you can do. You can disable users, so if they leave the firm or you don't want someone to have access to the HIVE environment, you can disable that user in HIVE. You can also invite users from outside your firm. And we're going to talk about a strategy that you can potentially use to invite users that have admin rights. Perhaps, for example, you've got an outside consultant and you want them to help build your libraries. You might invite them to join you in HIVE as an actual HIVE user as opposed to just an external invited user. We'll take a look at some of the limitations and some of what needs to be set up for that to work. All right. Let's go through the exercise here of actually doing this all inside the HIVE environment itself. So first off, we're going to start by just opening up HIVE, the actual HIVE program. We're going to double click on that. That'll open up HIVE. Of course, it's going to bring you to the login screen. You'll want to put in your username and password. In my case, I have the Remember Me option checked, and because of that, it remembers, and I don't have to type my password in every single time. Your option, of course, is whether you do that. To build users completely from scratch, you go down here to the users portion of HIVE. Now, with the users, to build a brand new user, you can see I've got two that are in here right now. To build a brand new user, I'm going to click on New. And you can enter, first off, the most important thing, the only thing that you actually have to put in here is an email address. And so I'm going to put in a demo user that I've got here in the company. I've got a specific one here. Demo user here, it's a third office, salesperson here in this office at ctcexpresstools.com, right? Oops, got to spell that right, or they won't get the invitation email. So this is going to be demo user 2, right? I don't know exactly what their name is, but I'm just going to put demo user 2 here in this case. I get to choose whether or not this person is a company admin to help me with the administration of HIVE. That's up to you whether you do that or not. You can also choose an expiration date, and I'll talk more about this later, why you might want to actually leverage the expiration date. You can give descriptions, and you can also choose which groups they get added to. Now, if you've already built a user group or two, you can go in here and you can add this user to a user group. So I've got an everyone group that I typically add pretty much every user to. I can click that, tell it that they're added to that particular group, and you can create that user. Now, when it builds this user, what it'll do is it'll send them an email address. They get an email, says, hey, welcome to HIVE. They get to sign in. It'll request they change their password, all that fun jazz. But you can do this, one by one for each and every user in your firm. Now, if you've got 10 or more users, it might be inconvenient to go through and hit the new button every single time and type all the information out. It might be a little bit more convenient for you to fill it out in an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file, which is effectively an Excel spreadsheet. If I open up Excel here, what I have is a little bit of a CSV. It's a .csv file. That is a requirement here in this case. Whenever you open up a CSV file, it always likes to collapse some of the information here. The first field, and the most important one here, is the email address. Again, the second field, column B, is going to be the first name. Notice that's optional. The last name is optional, and the description is optional. There's a little template you can get for this if you want to help you fill this stuff out. Or you can just copy what you see here on screen. If you wanted to use this as a template from one of the recordings, go for that. But you basically fill in each of the email addresses. Maybe this is an export from a list that you've got. You fill out each first name, each last name, and what the description of this person is, what their role happens to be. And then ultimately, once you save this as a .csv file, you can go into, let me just not save this because I've already done it. Well, I can go ahead and save it, it doesn't matter. Wants to know if I want to save it as a .csv because it opened it up in Excel, and I could overwrite that if I cared to since it's on my desktop. Save that. Yes, I want to replace it, and it shuts down. Then what you do inside of Hive is you go to the batch option here. This is the batch user creation portion. You can either type in just separate emails if you really wanted to, just copy paste from a list, or the way that I prefer to do it is the CSV file. And again, right here, you can download a sample CSV. That's how I got my template. That saves me from having to author that from scratch. So right inside of Hive, you can download that. Here, what I'll do is I'll select a CSV file that happens to be out here on my desktop. There is my sample Hive batch user creation file here. I can grab all those users, bring them in, and it'll actually generate each and every single one of those users. So here we've got user, oh, apparently I put in user row accidentally. Oh no, that's supposed to be there. Office 1, sales 3, sales 1, 2, and 3 here in this case. There's also an HR person in this list, right? So I've got some of these people in the list, not that I matched up their descriptions very well, but regardless, I've brought in those users very quickly. Now, these guys, when I brought them in, none of them were actually associated to a user group. So if I go down here to user groups and I go to everyone, you'll notice that I'm missing a number of people. Here, I may want to go in and add each of those individuals that I just generated, and then I can click, you know, to actually have them all added and myself even added to the everyone user group. All right, so that's pretty easy to do, and I can click update. That'll update that everyone user group very simply, and you know, you're off and running. Another way that you can bring in users. Now, if you have Active Directory in-house, if you're using a Windows server, you're probably leveraging Active Directory in some form to create usernames. You can use the CTC account Active Directory Synchroniser here just above my cursor. And when it's an optional install, it doesn't get installed for everybody. So when you get the Hive download, you open it up, you unzip it, there's an optional portion of that install. It's the Active Directory Synchroniser tool. When you open that up, what'll happen is, let me pull this on screen here since it went off onto a different monitor. It's going to ask you to log in. So of course, you're going to put in your password that you would use to log into Hive, your same Hive username and password, and then you log in. What it's going to do, in my case, it's actually synchronizing the users that I just brought across, and I'm trying to bring this on the screen for you. Let's see here. Bring this across. There we go. So it automatically synchronized each of these users. So it knows, hey, these guys are in Active Directory. So it's enabling me to actually link them up to the Active Directory system if I want to. So I can actually update all these guys from the Active Directory system. It'll also change each of their names. It'll refresh all of this, or should, if the names were all correct inside of here. But I can also go through and I can say, add groups from Active Directory, or I can add just other individual users. There's a lot more than just these guys that I'd already added. If I wanted to add individual users, I can do that. I can search for specific names like sales, and then what it'll do is, or sales star perhaps, starts with sales. Oh, actually it starts with demo user S. We'll put that in there and search for that. So when I search for that, theoretically it should find some, oh, maybe it's Office, I don't know, Office 1S, whatever. Gotta be a little specific with that. Whatever that email address is or username, you have to kind of put that information there so it knows what to sort of start with. So you put the information, it'll kind of filter those users out, and I can grab them again and have them added to Active Directory. Now I've already got these guys, but what I might want to do is I might want to bring in some of the security groups as well. So if I go over here and I add groups from Active Directory, this is the way that I personally prefer to leverage this particular tool. I have a domain set up here. This is my little demo domain for Hive. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of my security groups. These might be the same types of groups you'll be using to control security in your office and access to certain folder structures. So maybe I've got different groups of people, things like all employees, HR, IT, you know, management, you know, drafting team, BIM management, whatever, right? You've got all these different groups of people. I can add all of them over here to my import to Hive list, and it'll grab every user from these groups and add them into Hive. Now you can also find out exactly who's in these groups if you want to. If you want to know more about who's in here, you can simply right-click on the group and choose Show Members. What it'll do is it'll look through the system, it'll find all the members of that sales group and bring each of those users in, okay? So in this case, if I add these groups, it's going to synchronize those 5 groups from Active Directory directly into the Active Directory synchronization tool. It's going to bring in this case, 32 different users. Is doing group 1 first, so it's going to grab that all group. It's the everyone group. That means I myself don't have to manage the everyone group. Active Directory does it for me. The IT team, when they create people, they automatically add typically everyone to the everyone group, right? So this synchronizes those users all very quickly. In this case, I get a little report telling me everything that it did. In some cases, some of these couldn't be added because they were already in Active Directory or already in Hive, or in this case, this particular user couldn't be added because they were disabled in Active Directory. So if they're disabled, they don't get added into Hive, which is okay. That's not that big of a deal. I can click OK here. And let's see here. If I wanted to add these users basically from, well, sorry, I already did the add users here. I've got these users all ready to be synced up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to publish this to my CTC account system so it actually lets Hive know that these users are being pushed in. Doesn't take that long. It'll just kind of go through and basically build each of the users. In this case, again, it's going to give me success about all of this information that it's updating. Now, when I go back into my users list here, when I refresh this, what I'll get is a list of every single one of those users, and even those ones that I had added manually because it actually synced them up. For example, the demo user, I thought it was 3S3E. Yeah, this guy right here. This one where I put some random name in for that person, you know, demo and user, it actually filled the information out directly from Active Directory. So whatever the Active Directory system has, it automatically fills out here. And you notice here that all of these users are now Active Directory linked, every single one of them. Also, if I go over to my user groups and I refresh that list, I actually get those user groups here directly as well, all of those demo security groups from Active Directory. In your case, yours probably won't be prefixed with demo, but it is what it is. Now, I do still have my everyone group, and I can choose to continue to manage that if I want to, or I can drop the everyone group and begin using the all employees group, which might be a little bit easier to manage since, again, IT is managing it for me, and every time there's a modification in Active Directory, all I have to do is resync, and I get all the latest and greatest information and all of the new users from these groups. So it makes my management now very easy. There is some documentation in our help guide about how to actually automate this Active Directory synchronizer if you'd like. So you can certainly put that on a script and run it on a regular basis, and that way you never have to really touch it. Users just get created, or if they leave the company and IT disables them, they actually automatically get disabled inside of Hive as well. It won't delete them out of Hive once they've been added, but it will allow you to disable them. Now, if there was a user that you wanted to manually deactivate yourself, you can do that. You can take a specific user here, and if for whatever reason you need to disable them, you can simply change them to disabled here. And Active Directory won't override you at this point, but if Active Directory does disable somebody, it will disable them in Active Directory as well. So nice and easy, simple management for you guys to be able to bring in a bunch of users. All right, let's talk also about inviting users that are not a part of your company. This is an important one because it works a little bit differently. When you're in a library now at this point, I can go here, for example, to one of my Revit content libraries. I can add a user group like all employees, and I can give them whatever role I feel is appropriate. Maybe everybody's going to be a contributor here. I'm going to take the everyone group and remove that for now. So I just have that automatic group coming from Active Directory, which is the all employee security group. So everybody here is a contributor to my library, and that's fantastic. But maybe what I want to do is I want to invite somebody who's not a part of my company. I'll use my CAD Technology Center email address. So this company here is all CTC Express tools, but I actually have a CAD Technology Center email address that I use typically. And if I try to add that directly to Hive, I won't be able to because it's only looking for my company's domain email addresses. So what I have to do is I have to invite that external user. I'm going to go ahead and invite them. I'm going to put in myself. Let's see here. cadtechnologycenter.com. That's my main email address that I typically would use when I'm not doing a demo of Hive. And I can add myself, I can invite myself here to the Hive environment. Now take a look at this. If I add a normal user from my company, like my demo user here, when I add that user, I can go in here and I can choose either consumer, contributor, or admin. Now, if you want to know more about these different roles, we talked about that in the essential admin portion, the webinar we've already recorded. I'll go over them real quickly here. Consumers can drop content, they can open it, that's it. Contributors can tag, comment, and rate content. Admins can actually add content directly to the library. So you can actually assign admins here to help you build up your libraries. This outside user here, myself at my CTC email address, I can only assign consumer or contributor to this invited user. So whenever you invite somebody from outside your firm, you're a little bit limited, and that's intentional. You don't really normally want outside users to be, adminning your Hive environment. So typically you wouldn't have them as an admin. Now, if you did want an outside consultant, maybe you're hiring somebody to help you with your content. Hey, maybe you hire CTC and you want me to participate with you in your libraries. That's great. There's a different way that you can invite me to your library, not like this. Now, this invite, again, allows you to have them be able to see your library. They can drop content. If you want them to contribute, they can tag, comment, and rate stuff if you really want that, but they can't add content. If you do want to invite somebody to be able to add content, this is how you do it. If you go over here to the users area, you can talk with your IT group first of all, and we're actually going to have a special session on how to invite these people, but I'm just going to take you real quickly through what I would do here. I'm just going to make a new user, and I have an email address that I use that I can forward. It's a forward account that basically just sends outside people or anybody on the distribution list an email. In my case, it's forward at ctcexpresstools.com. Okay, that user is an outside user. It's not actually a person, it's just a distribution system here. I'm not going to make that person a company admin, almost guaranteed, right? That's probably a bad idea. And if I have this person working with me on my library, these outside users, and you may have a few of these set up, you may have, forward to me, you may have forward to, other Joe Consulting and whatever else you've got for different reasons. But here you can actually set an expiration date for them if you'd really like to. So I can use this little date finder here and say, well, this person has access to my Hive library for 2 weeks, and that's it. After 2 weeks, it automatically disables them on this particular library, or disables them, I should say, in Hive as a whole. And I probably want to give a description. This is a forward account that, sends email to Sean Z at CAD Technology Center so he can be an admin in my group. And that way you have a description and a reason why this person's in here, and maybe even indicate why you're expiring them at a certain date. And then you can add them to a group as well if you'd like. So if you want them to be a part of a specific group, you can do that, though I probably wouldn't do that with this user. I probably would very explicitly add them to libraries. That's my personal choice. You obviously can choose how you want to admin users yourself. When I create this user, this forward at CTC Express Tools, if I spell things correctly, it works better. It does actually error check and see if you've typed in the proper domain extension out here. Let me just reread that again, expresstools.com. That should be correct. Yeah. What that'll do now is send me an email. I get an invite and I could log in and I could then, as that forward user, use the Hive environment. And what you can do from your libraries side over here is you can add that particular forward user, this outside user, whomever that's going to be, you can add them directly to Hive and make them an admin now at this point if you really wanted to. So I could have that outside user help admin. I can admin. Maybe I have an admin group inside of here that's supposed to be there. So I've got this management group and I want them to all be admins as well. That's the wrong group. These are contributors or consumers, rather, the demo security group here. I grabbed the wrong group. Good Lord. Or maybe I was in a different library. I forgot. Demo management, all admins. Yep. And I'm going to add in here also the all employees group. And that is going to be the contributor level. So everybody, all employees are going to be contributors. Anybody in this management team, they're going to be admins. And then this outside forward account, that's also going to be an admin when that person or those people, because it could be more than one, it depends on who you want to forward this to, when they log in, those uploads get recorded to that account, and those people are all admins in that case. All right, that gives you hopefully a ton of information about how you can bring users into your Hive environment. Let's go back over here to the PowerPoint. I'll jump back in there and let's talk about some conclusions about user management. User creation can be as simple or as complex as needed. You can do it completely manually, you can do a little bit automated, or you can use the Active Directory account link to make it as automated as possible. You can definitely leverage that timeout of user access. This can be a great way, again, to manage consultants. That's how a lot of our clients will leverage this, I believe, will be to manage consultant access for a duration. You don't need to worry really about time bombing out invited users. You can simply just delete them from library access whenever you're ready to get rid of them. Ongoing maintenance can really be fairly hands-free of these users, especially if you're using that Active Directory account sync tool. No user computer interaction is really required. You don't have to go to individual workstations, give them licenses, send out any kind of files so they can access your libraries. As soon as you add them to Hive, or you go in there and invite a user to be a part of Hive, add them to libraries, immediately when they start logging into Hive, it just starts working and they get at the access that they need. And again, I don't want to harp on this too much, but Active Directory really is your friend. If you're leveraging Active Directory for your security groups now, you should definitely leverage it for the Hive side because it's going to make your user management so simple, so easy. So definitely take a look at that and begin leveraging the Active Directory sync tool. Script it if you want to, set up some timeline for it so that it knows exactly when to synchronize, but leverage that because it's going to give you a ton of benefit. All right, I really appreciate the time you've all given me today. Thank you for watching. If you have not done so already, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. This will give you all of the information, all the uploads. You know, these webinars, of course, are all being recorded. You can always go back and review them whenever you want to. Today, when you sign out, please do fill out that survey that pops up. We do covet your feedback. It gives us all the information we need so that we can build proper webinars in the future for you about any of our tools, Hive or any of the others as well. Thank you again. We look forward to seeing you in future webinars.